Apple made a number of notable announcements at its annual developers conference in San Francisco yesterday, but the one that everyone was seemingly waiting for was its first official foray into on-demand music streaming. As details emerged of the new Apple Music service, which launches on June 30 for $9.99 per month, perhaps one key facet stood out among all else is that it would be made available to Android users too, albeit not until later this year. The news sent minor ripples across the web, with exclamations of "Wow! A regular sight." But was it really all that surprising? A look at Apple's prior treatment of Android suggests there was at least some grounds for surprise. But only some. Chomp. Back in 2012, Apple acquired an app discovery engine called Chomp, a tool that let you search for iOS and Android apps by keywords. The Android element of the service was swiftly cut off and the dedicated app was pulled from Google Play. The overall service was closed down several months later. Test flight. In February 2014, Apple acquired Burstly, the parent company behind popular app testing service Test Flight. While the acquisition made a great deal of sense for Apple, it also helped to explain why, 2 days earlier, Test Flight revealed it was ceasing support for Android app testing. Test Flight lives on today as Apple's main tool to help developers beta test their apps, though in a slightly different guise. Beats Electronics. In May 2014, Apple confirmed its $3 billion acquisition of Beats Electronics, a deal that saw Beats CEO Jimmy Iovine and rapper/co-founder Dr. Dre join Apple. On the one hand, this gave Apple a firm foothold in the premium headphones market, but the main crux of the deal was the on-demand streaming service, Beats Music. Notably, Apple made no moves to scrap the Android version of the app, which has remained on Google Play for more than a year. While Apple no doubt sought to avoid the ire of existing Beats Music subscribers on Android, it was also indicative of its future intentions for music streaming. Android is simply too big to ignore. Apple on Android. Apple CEO Tim Cook has previously stated that the company has no issue with launching an Android app if we thought it made sense. And making Apple Music available on Android more than makes sense as a no-brainer. Android has a gargantuan market share, equating to around half of all smartphones in the US and more if you consider its global footprint. Apple needs its new music streaming service on Android in the same way it needed iTunes on Windows PCs. There is too much profit to be made, and too many cross-platform competitors such as Spotify. Apple simply can't ignore Android. With iTunes sales dwindling, Apple has long known that streaming is the future. Even though it could survive more than comfortably on its hardware business alone, every dollar and cent counts for its shareholders. So, the news that Apple will officially support Android with its soon-to-relaunch streaming service is a notable milestone, but it should come as no surprise.